Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the College Town Podcast. My name is Derek DeBurger. With me, Sam Roth.
How we doing, guys?
Well, we did it again. We missed a championship game, but we're
Yeah,
we're here to talk about it.
Real good about
Better
that.
late than never. We're also going to talk about Mark Pope at Kentucky.
Is it the right hire? We'll see.
Do we know? Probably not.
But we talk about
Time
it.
will tell. Tara VanDerveer also retired at Stanford.
Retired on top.
The WNBA draft is tonight as of recording this. I wonder who gets picked first overall.
Could it be Cameron Brink? No, it's probably Clayton Clark.
Yeah. I don't know. It's up in the air. We'll see. We also do a little bit of a recap of college baseball thus far, as that's what will be the focus of the show going forward. And hope to see you in the show.
Yep.
All right. Well, it happened again. We're a week late on the national championship.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. UConn won. Shocker.
I know, right? Back to back for the first time since 06-07 Florida.
Yeah. And the 10th team to ever do it.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Which is a little weird because, like, UCLA had one where they did it, like, 6 years in a row.
Oh, so it's like, as in, like, team, you don't mean, like, school. You mean, like...
Team, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, yeah, because UCLA had one where I think they did 4 years in a row, and then I think they did another 6 years in a row, something like that.
Oh.
Yeah. Which is just crazy.
You want to know who's also crazy? Dan Hurley.
Yeah.
Dan Hurley is certifiably insane.
Yeah.
Runs his practice like a boot camp.
Do you think that this is the greatest team of all time, college basketball?
What? I would argue last year's team for UConn is better than this year's team.
I would not at all argue that. You're kidding me?
I mean, like, they had so much more talent, but they were still able to go out and destroy. I mean, like, Klingon was on the bench last year, to give you an idea.
Yeah, but he's also a freshman last year.
Right, exactly. I mean, the amount of talent on last year's team was...
I'm saying, like, he's a sophomore now. He's better this year than he was last year.
Right, but, I mean, like, Cam... I mean, who was it on the team last year?
Adama Sanogo
Yeah.
was starting over him.
Yes, and then there's a guard that went to the league. Who am I
Yeah.
forgetting?
I mean, they had more NBA talent on their team. Like, this year's team probably only has.
I mean,
Castle and.
I mean, you
and
can make an
Klingon.
argument, I think, for like either team though, because it was just like.
I think this year's team is definitely better. I think without
Really?
a doubt, yes, without a doubt, it's better. They only lost 3 games. Like, that's stupid.
I get that.
That's so good.
Yeah, Jordan Hawkins, that's his name.
Yeah.
I mean, they did add 2 really key pieces this year, or 1 key piece this year in Cam Spencer.
Well, and Castle. Castle was a freshman.
Oh, true, Stephen Castle. Yeah.
So I think this team is. I think it's one of the best teams of all time.
I could see it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I am factoring last year's team into the
What
equation
about
as well.
the Kentucky team that lost to Frank the Tank? 1 loss on the year.
That team was really good. Yeah, they were very good.
I mean,
they had an absurd amount of NBA talent.
what year was that? 2014?
2015.
2015?
Yeah. Yeah, they had Devin Booker and
it was Karl Anthony Towns, Trey Lyles, the Harrison twins, Willie Cauley-Stein, Tyler Eulis, with Devin Booker on the bench.
Devin Booker was coming off the bench.
Oh yeah, Devin
No,
Booker was a true freshman. He never started.
Are you seriously?
Yeah, he never started.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, the Harrison twins
Cal
started.
never started Devin Booker.
Nope,
Oh my god.
it was the Harrison
And
twins.
I don't know if he ever started Dillingham either.
Oh, I think Rob got 1 start this year. Rob had Rob Dillingham. He had 1 start.
1 start. That's wild.
1 start. Reed
Between-
Shepard had 5 starts.
Between Dillingham and Devin Booker, there's 1 combined start there
Yeah.
in like 70-something games.
Yeah, some pure shooters though. But they were part of the closing
Is it?
runs.
Oh, in 70 games, right? Or
32 and
33? No, they played
30
They played 33 games. So
Right.
71 games. There's 1 start between Devin Booker and Rob Dillingham.
sure
That's
is. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Let's tie this in together. Kentucky and UConn.
Let's go for it.
So Kentucky got Mark Pope.
They sure did.
Yeah. Let me I put this in our notes. I don't know if you looked into it all. At at best, Mark Pope was their 8th choice for coach
Why do you say 8?
because Matt Jones, a sports radio guy,
He's basically the talking head for Kentucky fans.
yeah, he's the biggest like Kentucky media guy.
Right.
He released Kentucky's like Mitch Barnhart's
Shortlist.
top 7 guys.
Okay.
He said there was like a tier 1 sort of and a tier 2. That's how he called it. Tier 1. You think you can guess?
Hurley.
Yep.
They went after Scott Drew publicly.
Yeah, and Hurley publicly. They offered Hurley $100 million over 8 years.
They offered him to be the highest paid coach ever.
College coach, yeah.
Yeah.
In any sport.
Right.
So Hurley, Scott Drew.
Those are the 2 publicly that turned him down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to assume Billy Donovan was on the list.
Yep.
I'm going to assume, part of me is like maybe Kelvin Sampson, but no.
Not Kelvin Sampson.
Doesn't make sense. I'm trying to think of like the elite tier.
Who are some white whales? Think Billy Donovan-esque.
Jay Wright.
Jay Wright was one of them.
There's
another one.
There's another big one like
There's
that.
another one that everyone's like, oh, we should go out and get him.
Mark Few.
No. He's young. He's shockingly young.
Shockingly young.
Yeah. Just for how long he's been around.
In college basketball?
Nope. NBA.
Oh, no. Brad Stevens
was on the list.
That's not even a
He was
possibility. Whatever.
Okay, now you got 2 more.
Brad Stevens doesn't pick up the phone.
Okay, but he was on their list.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Whatever. Osselberger. That's the one I like.
No. One of them did publicly turn him down.
The only 2 I saw was Drew and Hurley.
Nate Oates was one of them.
Nate Oates is a very good coach.
Publicly turn them down.
Okay, so yeah, Nate Oates is a great one. Yeah.
This last one is you're never gonna guess, so I'm just gonna tell you. Frank Vogel.
Frank Vogel, the
Phoenix Suns head coach.
I was going to say the former Lakers coach.
He's currently coaching the Phoenix Suns.
Right. See, the whole idea of these NBA guys with Donovan or Vogel doesn't really make sense to me because they're in a playoff race and you kind of have to hire a coach now in the new way that college basketball is.
I mean, if you can get Billy Donovan, I would wait.
I mean, but
I would wait for him to lose the play-in game.
But also, it's like you don't know what your team is, and the portal's open right now.
I don't care if Billy Donovan's your coach.
You have until the end of May to get that sorted.
No, you can put a team together at any point.
The portal ends at the end of May.
The portal to open, you can commit whenever.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. I thought it ended like you had to be committed
No.
at a certain date.
No, it's just that's when you can put your name in the portal ends.
Oh,
you can commit whenever.
Noted.
If you had a chance to get like a realistic chance to get Billy Donovan, you wait. Because it's Billy Donovan. He won back-to-back championships at Florida.
Right.
That's absurd.
Also had some ridiculous NBA talent though with him.
Yeah, that just shows his recruiting ability.
Yeah, absolutely.
At Florida. That's crazy.
Right.
And so,
but they ended up with Mark Pope.
Yeah. Mark Pope was in that tier of like him. I know he said Chris Beard, Jerome Tang, and Sean Miller, and Will Wade as well. They were not even considered because of like off the court stuff. And then it came down between Mark Pope and Bruce Pearl.
I was about to say, why didn't they go after Bruce Pearl?
Yeah, they didn't even call him. Apparently.
Why?
I don't know. They must have liked Mark Pope more. That, or they didn't want to get embarrassed more, because that's what's been happening. It seems.
Is that they get turned on by Bruce Pearl?
Yeah, people. Bruce Pearl was notorious for being like, I might go to that school just to get a bigger raise. He did it with Louisville. He tried to do it with Indiana. He 100% would have tried to do it with Kentucky. That, or he might have taken the job. I'm not sure, but
I mean,
they got Mark Pope.
That was a lot what the pundits were saying on ESPN is that Bruce Pearl would be a decent fit at Kentucky.
I think so.
Right, exactly. I thought so too.
Personality-wise, 100%.
100%. Yeah. It is interesting to say the least, because I don't think any of us had this higher on our radar at all.
I didn't think it would get this far, but I had him on my radar.
I didn't have him on my radar at all. I didn't think.
I simply because he's a former Kentucky player. That's why.
Well, yeah, it makes sense. Former alumni coming back to a school where they won a national championship always works out, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we know.
We can't think of any instances like that
Yeah,
where it
firsthand,
hasn't.
we know where it works, and exactly how well it works, which is well. The only reason this is surprising me is because I said it last week. I genuinely believed that Scott Drew was going to come to Kentucky.
I did too.
I was firmly, as soon as I was like, oh, Cal's going to Arkansas, I hope you enjoy Scott Drew. The rivalry got fun.
I was about to say, you want me to, you're like, do you want to guess? Because you're going to be wrong on all your guesses because I know the guy. And it turned out not to be the guy.
Well, here's the thing.
Apparently,
reports came out. Scott Drew himself was a yes. But his family is very, very important to him.
Yeah.
So he sent his family to Lexington.
I heard about this.
Yes. That's a real story. That actually happened.
Yeah, where they took a flight to Lexington.
The biggest donors the biggest boosters for Kentucky, the Kraft family, they sent a private plane to Waco to go fly his family to Lexington
to tour it, basically.
They brought him back to Waco. They didn't like it. Also, Scott Drew was at a restaurant.
Right.
And then posted a picture of it. And Kentucky fans called the restaurant
to
be like, hey, tell Scott Drew he should go to Kentucky.
Yeah. And he's like oddly impressed.
I don't know if that had anything to do with him saying no, but I know his family not liking Lexington.
Well, it's kind of funny, I'm not going to lie, where you have a family living, no shade thrown here, but definitely some shade thrown here, of you have a family that's living in Waco, Texas.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know what? We're going to stay here rather than go to Lexington.
Yeah, Waco is like half the size of Lexington.
Like, what is there in Waco?
Baylor.
I mean, they did just build a new house there, too. That was the one thing.
That's what everyone says, though.
That's
you know how many coaches say, like, I'm building a house here.
Well, no, like, there's actually a house that was built.
Nah, I know.
But, I mean, like, dude's been there for close to 2 decades.
Over 2 decades.
Right. I mean...
Ooh, there's the Waco Mammoth National Monument.
I mean, the most thing Waco's known for is having a cult there. Okay,
that's true.
That's the most thing
I forgot about that.
This is the biggest. This is what Waco is known for. Okay, and anyone who tells you otherwise is wrong. Okay.
Yeah, Waco doesn't often make the news for positive headlines.
No, it doesn't. I mean, and the fact that his family went, you know what, we like it in Waco rather than going to Lexington.
There's something to be said about familiarity.
Oh, 1,000%. I do think that is a factor. But I mean, like, Waco, though. It's Waco.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this.
No one goes for vacationing in Waco this year.
I will say this. Personally, I hate Lexington, Kentucky. Just as a city. It's not even like a rivalry thing. I hate the way the city's designed. I hate the traffic lights. I hate the roads, the lanes.
He hates the blue.
I've been ticketed there twice. One of them was my fault. But I'm still mad I got the ticket. So I hate Lexington.
Yeah, you do.
But
we've had some good off-camera conversations about you hating Lexington.
It's terrible. It's such an. I'm not going to get into this, but like,
do you have a personal vendetta against Lexington?
All of that aside, do you like the Mark Pope hire?
As an outsider looking in, you have to think. I really don't know about the landscape of college basketball and how college prestige, if it matters or not anymore, because of the NIL and the transfers.
I still think it does. I think it matters more with high school recruits than it does transfers.
So I look at it from this perspective: is there a better guy out there that would have said yes? That is the question I propose. And if the answer is no, then yes, this is a good hire. If the answer is yes, there was a better opportunity that was not ventured out and tried. Like if you tried Nate Oates, you tried Scott Drew, you tried Dan Hurley, you tried all these guys. Like, did Billy Donovan receive a call?
Reportedly, Billy Donovan was not interested in even considering it until his season was over.
Makes
and Kentucky
sense.
Didn't want to wait that long.
Well, no, because he's potentially they're in the play-in right now.
They are in the play-in. Yes.
So if they win, forget when the game is, they'll be a 7 seed. But if they have to win 1 or 2 games to be in the playoff. They're in the 7-8 right now.
No, I don't think they are.
Yeah,
I think they're in the 9-10.
I don't think they are.
7-8 is 76ers Heat.
Okay, yeah, you are correct. That sounds way more correct. So, but basically, like, I understand not wanting to wait till. I mean, not to say the Bulls are going to play in June, but potentially June.
Yeah, and that was part of it. For them, that was part of it with Brad Stevens. But from what was reported.
I don't think Brad Stevens even sniffs this job. I think at where he's at one of the top 5 organizations in basketball. I don't think that's a question about it. And he's the president of basketball operations.
And GM.
Right. I don't think he leaves that.
And by the way, he's very good at that.
Right. And there's no way he leaves that. And I do wonder about, like, other Midwest guys. I do wonder about, like, the Also Burger. I wonder how, like, would I prefer Mark Pope over Brian Underwood? Would I prefer, like, I would prefer Tommy Floyd from Arizona.
Yeah. See, Brad Underwood's an interesting one because I think Brad Underwood would leave for other jobs, but there's 2 things keeping him in Illinois. His buyout is like $25 million right now, which is absurdly high for basketball, for any sport really, but especially basketball. Also, he's in his 60s. That's going to deter some 80s.
I understand that. At the same time, though, he's recently produced some very good players.
Oh, he's literally coming off his best season ever.
There are some notable good players on this year's team. Previous years, it was Ayo,
Ayo Dosunmu.
Sumo, Kofi.
I love Ayo Dosunmu, by the way. I love his game.
And also Kofi Cockburn was another great big that came out of.
I think it's Kofi Coburn.
Oh, apologies.
That's how he pronounces it. Look, let's be honest. We know how it's pronounced. It's Coffee Cockburn.
It is. Well, anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, there are some notable talented players that have been produced there. And then if you go to a more prestigious school like Kentucky, odds are you're going to be able to recruit better, have more money for NIL, and be able to bring in better recruits in the transfer portal.
Especially if the place you're coming from is BYU. BYU, contrary to popular belief, but you do not have to be Mormon to play there. A lot of people think you do.
Yeah.
You don't.
You don't.
That being said,
you have to abide by the rules of being a Mormon, though.
Which is still insane.
Yeah.
Like, there's a curfew. You're not allowed to have
coffee.
You're not allowed to have, like, coffee, soda, stuff like that. You're not allowed to
have girls in your dorm room.
Yeah. You're not allowed to be intimate with others.
Hey, soak for Pope, baby.
Jesus. That's visceral. That's awful.
Oh, it's funny, though. It's so funny. But, yeah. I personally am going to go out with a no. I'm going to say this is not a good hire because of the potential candidates that were not explored. Like, I think Bruce Pearl would have been better. I do truly believe, like, TJ Alsoberger is on the top of my list there of who's available.
Absolutely.
And Tommy Floyd of Arizona, I really think was a great hire if you can get him.
Yeah, if you can get him out of the West Coast, yeah.
Right. So I think those 3 right there, I'm going with no, just off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm very conflicted about this because if you look at him as a coach, he is...
Has he even moved past the first round of the tournament?
He does not have... He's 0-2
in the tournament.
In the NCAA tournament in his 9 years as a coach.
Right. To be fair, he was at Utah Valley for 4 or 5 years.
Utah Tech, I think.
Either way.
Yeah, same difference, basically. It is same difference. Same thing is what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, but, like, with the exception of his second to last year at BYU, every team he's coached has been better than the year before.
Yeah.
Every single team. His offenses are...
I like his offense.
Yes, schematically, they're very good. His defenses have been okay. He's never really produced that good.
To be fair, they were projected to finish dead last in their first year in the Big 12.
Second to last.
And they finished, what, 6?
They were up there, yeah.
I wonder where they finished.
Also, I mean, Dan Hurley, I believe, had 0 NCAA tournament wins.
Right.
When he got hired at UConn.
6. No, 5th. They finished 5th.
Yeah.
Wow, good on them. Yeah.
Jay Wright had 1 NCAA tournament win when he got hired at Villanova.
Right.
So sometimes you can, like, have these scenarios where it's like,
it works out.
It's not like a clear, obvious home run hire, but the personality's there and the drive is there, and that could be the case with Mark Pope. The only concern with me, if I'm a Kentucky fan, is that Jay Wright and Dan Hurley, they didn't have tournament success, but they did have seasons in the regular season where they fielded teams that were just world beaters in their conference, even a little bit out of conference.
Okay.
Like they each had I think they each had 30 win seasons.
Oh, I see.
At the place where they were before.
Just dominant.
Mark Pope's never had that.
No.
That's the one thing that concerns me.
Where did they come from the Big 12? They were at
they were the West Coast Conference.
Oh, they were with Gonzaga in there?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yep. In basketball alone. Yeah, so and they had 1 year where they were pretty good. I think they beat Gonzaga 1 year.
They were, 19-15 in the WCC, 24-11, 20-7, 24-8. So he took over during COVID.
That's my concern if I'm a Kentucky fan, is that this guy is not going to be bad. I just don't know if he's going to be great.
But it's also like when you're going to a level of school like Kentucky, the expectation isn't to be, obviously you don't want to end up like Louisville the last couple of years where you're just atrocious.
Or Indiana even, or
right.
Georgetown.
It is it's a thought there. But you also want to be you obviously want to be elite. The expectation is to put banners up in the Raptors, basically. But I do wonder. I mean, he did just go 23-11, fifth in the Big 12, was ahead of Kansas, even though Kansas had a down year.
Kansas at Kansas.
Right. I do wonder. I was about to say, like, you could argue he's coming from a very good basketball conference, was able to compete with a team with quote unquote less talent. So now if he does get talent with this offense, it could develop.
That's the thing. Everyone says he's not a good recruiter.
I do think
he will be a better recruiter.
I think the restrictions on BYU,
he will be a better recruiter. Kentucky.
I mean, if I was a recruit, BYU's never going to be on the list just because of the limit. Like,
No, I would never in a million years go to BYU.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying either. There's no desire for me to go to BYU as a recruit. At the same time, though, it's also like what he was able to do with those restrictions is a little bit impressive.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm growing more and more on this hire, but who knows?
I mean, I can't, from this glass house I'm in, I can't cast stones. Because like pretty much everything you can say negatively about Mark Pope, you can say it about Pat Kelsey.
More or less.
So I think both Louisville and Kentucky are very much in the like.
All right,
let's wait and see.
Well, it's also like, okay, we're gonna back this guy. This is our guy. We're going to support him.
Absolutely. Like,
that's basically what it's become.
You have to.
You have to. The hire has to grow on you, basically. If you.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it is shocking to me on how two quote unquote blue bloods of the sport weren't able to go and get elite top tier known guys.
Well, before that, North Carolina and Duke.
They
didn't even try.
Well, they also, I think they had succession plans where they were going to hire in-house, which I think is the better way to go about doing it.
I think it's only the better way if you have a guy that you're like, oh, they're next up.
But it's also like you keep the same identity and culture to an extent, whereas you don't lose that with an outsider perspective coming in who wants to not necessarily change the program, but wants to develop it in a way that they like it, where it's like, okay, this is Duke basketball, this is North Carolina basketball. Like, think about it. North Carolina has had a succession plan, same with Duke, since, it went from, in North Carolina, Dean Smith to Roy Williams to Hubert Davis.
But Roy Williams left Kansas. That wasn't a guarantee that he was going to leave Kansas to go back to North Carolina.
I know, but there's still an identity there within Tar Heel basketball and an expectation there.
Yeah.
Same thing with Coach K and now John Shire.
Yeah. But before we move on, I want to say one thing. John Calipari leaving for Arkansas marks only the third time a national championship winning coach has left that school directly for another school. the time prior was also Kentucky. Tubby Smith leaving for Minnesota. So 2 out of the 3 times.
What was the other time?
I actually don't know. I couldn't buy it, but
Okay.
2 out of the 3 times that a coach has just up and left their school that they won a national championship at for another school is Kentucky. And that's not getting fired.
So why do you think a coach does that? Why is it a second time around? Is it
with both Tubby and Cal? The fans were too much.
Interesting. It just got too hot in the kitchen. Just got too much.
With Cal it was a little bit more, but with Tubby, yeah.
Like I don't know much about the Tubby situation. I'll be honest.
Tubby started off. He started off very good at Kentucky. Like he literally won a national championship, like very, very quickly.
Right.
That being said, he did it with all of Rick Pitino's players.
Mm.
That was before you really transferred. You know?
Right.
So if your coach got fired or coach left, okay, you're just stuck at that school now.
Mm-hmm.
So he did it with all the Rick Pitino's players. Once they started to cycle out, he got worse and worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
And the pressure was building. The fans did not like Tubby Smith. And he was like, okay, screw this. I'm getting out of here. And with Cal, he had some issues with the administration. Also had issues with their biggest booster that was previously mentioned, the Kraft family.
I didn't know that. I knew he had an issue with Barnhart.
Okay. So this is the thing with the Kraft family.
Okay.
Kelly Kraft of the Kraft family, the matriarch, so to speak. She ran for governor of Kentucky last year. And she wanted Oscar Shibwe and John Calipari to appear in a campaign ad for her. And Calipari shot that down. Ever since then, the Krafts just pulled their funding. They're like, screw you, we're not helping you guys. Which is very petty. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm on John Calipari's side on that argument. But there was a lot going on with Calipari, behind the scenes. There was a lot going on. Moving on.
All right.
Want to talk about Tara VanDerveer?
Legendary coach with a legendary career with all-time wins, right?
Yes, she is the all-time wins leader. Tara VanDerveer,
Yep.
Stanford's coach, now former coach for their women's team, called it quits. She retired. She hung up the quarter zip. Yeah, she's the all-time. She retires as the all-time wins leader in college basketball, men or women, with about 1,200 wins. I think Oriema is
Close.
kind of right behind her, and then Coach K is third.
Yep.
They hired Kate Pay
Uh-huh.
to replace her. Don't know much about Kate Pay.
No.
She was just an assistant, right?
Right. Was the hire. So get this. Well, it's the same thing with North Carolina, man. Exact same thing. Legendary coach calls it quits, has a succession plan in place, who happened to be a former player of the school and as well as on the coaching
I don't
staff.
think it's happened to be a former player. It's by design.
No, absolutely. And I'm saying these coaches who care about their programs, they will have a succession plan in place for when they're gone.
Yeah, but the coaches don't make the hires.
No, but I do think there's recommendations fired.
Sure, but AD doesn't have to listen to that necessarily.
But
They're supposed to do what's best for the program.
right.
But I don't know. It's there's not really much to that other than she retired and they replaced her with an assistant. We'll see how Kate Pay does as the coach at Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
They're moving to the ACC.
Sure are. Man, I was looking forward to see her coach in the ACC.
Yeah, I don't think she wanted to do that.
I can
I
understand.
think she was like, "Screw this! I'm not flying to South Carolina to play Clemson."
I'm not flying to Syracuse.
Yeah, Syracuse, New York, Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts,
All the way from, where exactly is Stanford? I know it's in Northern California.
Palo Alto.
Okay. Here it's a beautiful campus.
Yeah,
It's massive too. It's on a ton of acres.
it's a land grant,
Right.
I believe, land grant university. It's a private. I could be wrong about it being a land grant. We'll get into the nitty gritty details.
Yeah, fun stuff.
It's interesting. There's been a lot of blue blood jobs in both men and women open.
Yeah. And
Stanford, Tennessee in women, Louisville, Kentucky in men's. There was a rumor for a little bit that maybe Indiana might be open in men's, but
not currently.
Woodson retained his job.
Mm-hmm.
Oriema has not yet retired.
But based off his comments, it sounds like
I think he's going to retire soon.
It's going to retire soon.
That'll be really interesting to see what UConn does. Because if I'm UConn, I'm not, unless you feel like you have someone on staff that's like, oh,
there's the person.
They're a top tier coach.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and get someone.
It is interesting to think about the coaching landscape of who would be willing to leave their jobs to go to UConn. Because I mean, like, that is more or less the job.
If I'm, let's say, Oriema retires tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm UConn's AD, I'm looking at.
I know who you're gonna say.
Yeah, you do.
I know who you're gonna say.
I'm looking at Jeff Walls.
Okay.
And Kara Lawson.
Yep, that's exactly who I thought you were gonna say. I was waiting for Kara Lawson to be said from Duke.
Big Kara Lawson.
I know you are.
She's such a good coach. She's such a good coach. There's a reason Tennessee looked at her. Tennessee's top 3.
Did Lawson go to UConn?
I have no clue.
Because I do wonder about that aspect of it, of like, if you try to keep a culture there that where you go for a former player or a former coach under Oriema. I don't know his tree exactly.
Kara Lawson played at Tennessee. Why did Tennessee not hire Kara Lawson? That feels like such a mistake.
Man.
Kara Lawson's a fantastic coach. She went to Tennessee. That doesn't make sense to me. Oh well.
Yeah.
To each their own.
Right, absolutely. But we'll wait for that day to happen and see what the short list is.
It's all speculation.
Mm-hmm.
What else we got? The WNBA draft is tonight. Again, we're gonna be late on that.
Yeah. And congratulations to Caitlin Clark for being the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if that is not happening, then the Indiana Fever have just made not only just a poor basketball decision, but also a poor financial decision.
Yeah, if Caitlin Clark is not the number 1 pick, they must have found out she has like a baby fighting ring going on. Like, there's no
explanation for it.
She's like starving babies, and
you,
she's got a bottle of formula in the middle, and she's like, "Go."
Is this what you dream up of?
No, I just came up with that on the fly.
Yeah, I know. Like, what? Okay. But, yeah, there would have to be major off-the-court issues for Caitlin Clark not to go number 1. The question, though, is, like, with a lot of well-known talent that is coming out, as well as very marketable talent coming out of the women's basketball, who is probably your second pick if you are? Who is this? Who does
I
that?
think LA Sparks have it, right? I'm pretty sure it's Sparks. I think LA has the second pick.
Yeah, LA and then Chicago and then back to LA again.
Yeah. Is it the LA Sparks? I feel
it's the Sparks.
that it's the LA Sparks. Okay.
Yeah, Sparks. You're correct.
I think they're going to get Cameron Brink.
I think it would be Brink 2 or Cardoso. I'm pretty high on Cardoso.
Yeah, I mean, she's.
I do think like
6'7".
I'm trying to think of like the mocks I've seen, because it's like
I know Rickea Jackson is up there.
Yeah, they're so inaccurate because they still have Georgia Amore in there, and it's like she's coming back to school, so it doesn't make sense.
Rickea Jackson out of Tennessee.
Where would you put Elizabeth Kitley coming off an injury?
I mean,
is she a first
flyer
round?
On the first round? Absolutely.
Really?
Yes, I would. If I'm like Dallas, yeah.
Where would you put Angel Reese?
Oh, that's interesting. Because I don't know. Angel Reese, I don't know if you saw this, working out with Chris Brickley recently.
I don't know who Brickley. Oh.
Chris Brickley is like the guy that NBA players go to train.
Casey Sheldon, Aaliyah Edwards,
yeah,
Angel Reese. Some girl from Australia, a girl from France. Oh, you really like her, Elisa Pili?
Yeah, she's very good. I would.
Nika Mule, the girl.
Paige Becker's not in this draft.
She's coming back to school.
That's crazy to me.
Paige
She's
announces.
probably, I mean, she's got to be the number 1 pick next year.
Paige announces she's coming back. I don't know. There is some injury issues there. She's torn 2 ACLs.
I would still.
I mean, it's a
take
big
Beckers.
risk.
I would take Beckers.
Nika Mule was the girl that was guarding Caitlin Clark in the UConn game.
Nika Mule's good.
She's very cute too.
Dude, what's
Yeah.
with you and UConn players?
Dude, she's cute. What can I say?
All right.
I'm sorry. I like 2 UConn players, and they both have to be good at basketball and cute. Sue me.
All right. Yeah. So here's the thing: the WNBA tends to, like, oh my god, years ago, this drove me nuts. I remember I was watching the WNBA draft.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas had the first 2 picks in the draft, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's a rare occurrence. With the first pick in the draft, they take a center out of Texas.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, never heard of this girl before. They're showing her highlights, and I was like, what? Why did they take her? She's slow. She has bad footwork. She didn't look like super like strong or athletic or anything. I was like, why did they take her? And then they go with the second pick. They take another center from Europe, and they show her highlights. It's like, oh my god, this woman is so much better. She's 10 times better as this girl from Texas. Like, she was quick. She was skilled in the post. It looked like she could shoot. I was like, why did they not take her number 1 and then take some other person with the second pick? And then I thought about it, and I realized, oh my god, Dallas just took because they had the first 2 picks, they probably just took the girl from Texas as a marketing thing because it's the same state.
It's the way to market, yeah.
And so I don't know. I don't think every WNBA GM has that mindset because I think ultimately winning is more marketable than like,
Well, do you
look, someone who played college nearby.
I mean, there is a money aspect to it. So I mean, like,
yeah, they're all racing towards profit.
I was about to say, like, so it would be like, who are like the top followed girls?
Cameron Brink is one of them.
Is Brink,
Clark, yeah,
Reese,
Angel Reese for sure.
the other LSU girl, Haley Van Lith, and then there's another
Man, that's
LSU.
not the portal, the draft though.
Right, I know. And then there was another girl from LSU. Oh, Jackson? What was her name?
Rakia Jackson.
I think that's her name, right?
Rakia Jackson's from Tennessee.
No, who's
There's
the
Flaujae Johnson.
I think that's who it is.
Okay. Flaujae Johnson's, she's good.
right? So, I mean, there is something to be said about being able to market players in a league that is currently not making money.
Yeah. I think that'll change very soon with Caitlin Clark.
One can hope, right?
I think it will change very soon. Caitlin Clark is that big.
Because there is something to be said about the translation where it's like you see really good players leave for the draft. And I'll be honest, as a person who watches college women's basketball, I can't remember last time I turned on a WNBA game other than like last year's final where it was the Aces versus the Liberty.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like,
Which, by the way, Liberty's coach blew it for him.
Okay.
It's a hot take. I know.
But, I mean, like, I don't watch a regular season WNBA basketball game, and I'm a women's basketball fan. I also do think it has to do with a bit of geography in the aspects of, like, I don't necessarily have a team here.
I don't have a team because I'm holding out that Louisville gets a team.
That'd be cool.
But I'm holding out hope. Yeah. So,
I mean, you think it would be like Connecticut? Because, I mean, the rest of those are just massive markets.
Louisville's not a small market.
I mean, we don't have a professional team here.
That's beside the point.
Well,
my point being, I think Cameron Brink's going to know number 2 for 2 reasons. 1, she is very good. She's a very good player. 2, she played at Stanford. LA's in the same state. There's some connection there, some marketability there. That's why I think Cameron Brink's going to go number 2. It'll be interesting to see if that's the direction they go, because there's a lot of different ways LA can go, especially considering they have 2 picks. We're a college show, but
so I'll ask you this: Are you in the category for Caitlin Clark of that her game will translate to the WNBA because she'll have better players around her, Or do you think it will not translate as much because there'll be better defenders on her?
No, it'll translate.
Okay.
It'll translate. She will immediately be officiated the same way in college. She'll get every call. It's the LeBron effect, the Zion effect when he was at Duke. Zion got every single call at Duke because Zion. No, it's because it's what everyone does at every level. They officiate the stars differently. They do. Caitlin Clark is a star. She doesn't get called for fouls the same way other people will. She draws fouls that other people don't. Part of it's because she's really good. Part of it's because she's a star.
Okay.
No one wants to see your star foul out in the third quarter.
It is funny that you say that because the Lakers led the league this year in fouls called for them. Want to know who was second on that list?
LeBron?
New York Knicks.
New York Knicks? Oh, I think you meant
Teams.
I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, we were a college show, but the
We'll sprinkle in some pros here and there.
WNBA has to do with college.
Well, the draft
does.
most
The draft
definitely does.
So,
Yeah.
that's it. Who do you think's going number 2? Did you ever say?
I was thinking Brink.
Okay, yeah, that's what I think.
I was thinking Brink.
All right. What else do we have?
A little something if you want to click on it. I thought it'd be fun. Yeah.
Sure.
Why not?
This is what I was actually. I'll bring it up now just because why not? But I was thinking about doing an all-time top 25 list for a sport over the summer to have something to talk about.
Right.
And with those lists, it's always interesting to me. I think we should start with football, just personal opinion. But all-time top 25 for football, it's always interesting to me. What's the best program on that list that doesn't have a national championship? Because that's the conversation we're gonna have now for basketball. There's this list of schools, of good schools that don't have a national championship.
Good schools or have some prestige of some sort. Mm-hmm. So just to run you down the list real quick, it's in a very randomish order. You have South Carolina, Creighton, USC, Creighton, Texas Tech, Houston, Pittsburgh, Alabama, Texas, Miami, Purdue, Illinois, Iowa State, Tennessee, Florida State, Gonzaga, Notre Dame, Kansas State, Wake Forest, Providence, San Diego State, and Clemson.
Yeah, the question on it is posed is which school is most likely to win their first tournament soonest?
Yeah, basically.
Honestly,
I got my picks.
I'm leaning towards Houston or Gonzaga just because of the stability of coach.
Interesting. And I did the exact same thing, but in a different direction. I went with Alabama or Iowa State.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't hate that. Otz is an alum of Iowa State. His wife is an alum. Actually, I don't know if Otzelberger played at Iowa State, but I know his wife did.
Oh, okay.
His wife, I think, ran track at Iowa State. He's not going anywhere for the time being. We'll see if that changes at any point. But and Oates seems to like it in Alabama.
Oates has turned down some jobs already.
Yeah, he turned down Louisville and Kentucky.
So, seems like Oates is committed.
For the time being, yeah.
Yeah. So, I personally like those two. Do wonder how Musselman will get on at South Carolina. I do.
Southern California.
Jesus.
The SC is throwing you off, isn't it?
It just keeps saying Carolina for some reason.
It's the SC.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I think coach-wise, Rick Barnes at Tennessee, obviously, is fantastic, but he's got such a bad track record in March. And also, Notre Dame. I really, really like Micah Shrewsbury as a coach. I just don't know how long he's going to be at Notre Dame. Because he's, in my opinion, very good coach.
Just hasn't gotten the results.
Coach. He's just got to...
Doesn't have a team.
Yeah, he's got to build that roster up.
Yeah. I honestly, it's out of these lists right here, it's Creighton. I put like Houston, Purdue, Gonzaga, and like maybe throw in Creighton there, where it's just like coaches who have had a history of in March but haven't gotten the job done. Like very good coaches.
I mean, Gonzaga's lost in the national championship game multiple times.
Yeah.
You know, they've been right there, and they played a fantastic game in 2017 against North Carolina. You know, they were neck and neck.
Well, they also they did fantastic in the COVID year to basically get to the final. Jalen Suggs hits a wild shot against UCLA.
That no one picked him up for. How do you not pick him up full court?
Right, and then proceed to just lay an absolute egg in the national championship game against Baylor.
Because Baylor was absurd that year.
I mean, they just
absurd.
They just could not score the ball.
Baylor's defense was smothering. Yeah, I mean, I think the question of which team is most likely to win their first versus what's the best team without a championship, I think those are two different questions.
Oh, most definitely. Who's most likely?
Who's most likely? I think it's Houston and Gonzaga. Who are the best teams without a championship? I think it's like Iowa, and then maybe Houston, Gonzaga.
He means Iowa State, by the way.
Oh, I didn't. I meant Illinois. I didn't mean Iowa State. I think Illinois is more up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Illinois is another team that's lost in the national championship.
Just seems like you like the veteran coaches here.
I mean, what am I going to go for? Jeff Capel and Kim English? I like Kim English. I think Kim English.
I'm just going for what I think is like the hot, sexy pick, basically, of like a young coach up and coming who understands the new way of NIL and recruiting.
Maybe I just have too much of an old school like state of mind.
Because I do think the game is changing. It's like you either adapt with it now or you don't. I think some guys have been able to adapt with it, but also have this old school mentality. I think guys like Nate Oates, Stan Hurley, and other things along those lines are going to be able to change the game.
You know what's interesting about Nate Oates?
What is?
He had Alabama hire analytics trackers to just travel with them to in the tournament, so that they could get in-depth, like real-time, like analytics of like the games that they just played and how they should adjust going forward.
Gotcha.
That's extremely forward-thinking.
It's 1,000% forward-thinking.
I think Nate Oates is one of the most forward-thinking coaches in all of the sport.
Right, and that's why he's had great success the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm. He just needs himself a Herb Jones again. Oh God, that Alabama team that had Herb Jones on it was so fun to watch. Oh, I don't know if you remember that or not.
I do not.
They made the Sweet 16 that year.
Was that with Brandon Miller?
Nope, that was a couple years before Brandon Miller got there.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, Herb Jones was. He's tall. He's in the NBA now.
I know who Herb Jones is.
Yeah. I remember watching him, and I was like, that guy. I am in love with his game. He's tall. He can shoot. Just a relentless defender. And that's something like Nate Oates hasn't had since Herb Jones graduated. He hasn't had a guy that can do everything he asks offensively, but also just gets up in you on the other end of the court.
Man.
Oh, that was a fun Alabama team, not going to lie. But, yeah. I mean, what we got... Just a quick mention on baseball.
Sure.
You want to talk about baseball?
I mean, I will be perfectly honest. I have not watched too much college baseball to have too much to comment about. Right. I wish I could.
Yeah. So we're moving through the sports calendar, which means
as one does.
So while the world focused their attention on the Masters, and then we'll soon focus their attention on the NBA playoffs, because that's how sports goes.
Lovely world we live in.
We as college people, college sports fans, we will focus on college baseball now. It's a lonely existence.
Sure is. For a college World Series to come up here.
Yeah, that's in about a month and a half ish, less than a month and a half. It's like a month, but let's go to the RPI. So basically, what you need to know about college baseball: Wake Forest, LSU, and Florida were preseason like three of the top teams.
Okay.
Everyone thought they were going to be fantastic. Looks like Florida sucks. They're one game above 500 right now,
Noted.
which is insane.
Or they just suck.
LSU's been disappointing. They're not ranked right now. Wake Forest is fine. Like,
Not elite.
they're hovering around that, like, 20 to 12 range, like, being ranked, but, like, they're not the number one team they were in the preseason. Even though they brought back a lot of guys. Like, they've got 5 guys in the top 30 prospects.
Oh, there you go.
And 3 of them are starting pitchers.
That helps a lot.
And they're just not performing like people thought they would. But in my opinion, I think there's 3 top teams. I think it is Clemson, Arkansas, and Texas A&M. I think those are the 3 top teams. Florida State has been a nice surprise for a lot of people. They've turned out to be pretty good, even though their schedule has been light. I don't know if you know that.
No?
Yeah, they haven't really played too many people. But boy, oh boy, do they have a lot of wins. Kentucky looks really good, and it bothers me.
Oh. It's unfortunate for you.
It does, yeah. SEC is still very good, but it's not.
It seems to be the SEC and ACC, right?
Yes. The SEC and the ACC are easily the 2 best conferences. The SEC is not as dominant, I think, as everyone thought going into the year, but they still are very good. Definitively top 2 conference, I think. ACC, they're good as well. I mean, you got any questions? I'll fill you in the best I can.
Who's the Cinderella to look out for?
Cinderella. I mean, you like them. Indiana State's solid.
They are solid.
Baseball is such a random sport that it's difficult to like predict that, because it takes like just the flip of a switch for a team to get hot all of a sudden. I think Creighton is actually good. I think Creighton is a good team that's not really getting a lot of attention right now. If UC Irvine goes on a run, I don't know if you remember this years ago at this point. Coastal Carolina won College World Series. And then they were like, and a Cinderella wins the College World Series. And it's like, they were top 25 all year. They're not a Cinderella. Everyone knew they were going to be good. And so I could see that for UC Irvine, because they were preseason top 25. They've moved up the rankings. They've lost a couple series recently.
Well, it's kind of like in recent years with Cal State Fullerton. It's like, oh, they're there again. And it's like, they're not really Cinderella. But it's like, it's one of those unknown colleges.
To the general public.
To the general world of sports athletics.
In baseball, you understand.
They're dominant,
they're
It's different. Right now, who would you say is going to be in Omaha? Who are the 8 teams that are going to Omaha?
Oh, man, that's a tough. I really like.
I'll give you. Give me like 12 that you like. Out of the 12.
I mean, okay.
Give me 12 that can make
I
it.
already told you, Clemson, Arkansas, Texas A&M.
Okay.
I like them a lot. I think they're very good. I love Texas A&M's coach preaches patience with batting. They don't swing unless they like to pitch. Unless they're trying to just foul something off to keep an at-bat alive, or they like the pitch, they don't swing. So they're a really difficult team to pitch against, especially if you have a thin bullpen. So I like Texas A&M quite a bit. I mean, Kentucky's really good. I hate it. Kentucky's
5.
very good this year.
Gotcha.
I like Virginia and Duke quite a bit.
Okay.
I could see East Carolina making it this year.
Okay.
East Carolina.
The Pirates?
Yep. They're good. They're a good team. Oregon State has a lot of good wins so far this year. They could make it. I don't know, man. It's tough. It's really tough. West Virginia's picked it up a little bit. I'll just throw them in there because I don't know why not. They've got a shortstop who we've talked about off camera
Westberg.
That guy's absurd.
He sure is.
That guy is crazy batting, and they're getting good. They're getting hot right now. I don't know.
All right. Well, you gave me 9.
Yeah, I mean, my heart wants to say Louisville, but Louisville's probably not even going to make the tournament this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
All right. Yeah.
I mean that's college baseball.
More or less. Get more exciting in the next month.
Yeah. It's a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
College World Series is we'll explain it when we get to it, but it's an interesting one.
How do you feel about
Different beast.
How do you feel about with a sport like baseball where it is one location every year for the final?
I like it.
You like it a lot?
I like it because it is such a tradition at this point.
I see.
It's because it's Omaha. Everyone talks about Omaha. You got to get to Omaha.
Right.
It's cool. It's very cool. Like the stadium there is nice. It's very accommodating as far as like guest and like there's a lot of areas for people who are not like watching their team play. There's a lot of areas for you to go and like hang out until your team does play. So it's cool. I don't know if you ever heard the statistic that the fan base that buys the most Jello shots at Omaha.
Yep,
wins it every year.
Yeah, at the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
I have a belief on that as to why that is the case.
Why is that the case? Because they brought the most fans for home field advantage?
No.
Mm.
You're going to stay there longer if your team's in it.
I see.
And Jello shots are something you probably do when you're happy. So I don't think it is quite simple just, if we go in there and we buy
A ton of
20,000 Jello shots,
because the tournament's
we're
what,
automatically
like 2 or 3
going to
weeks
win.
there.
It's not long, yeah. I literally do just think it is like a self-fulfilling prophecy of the teams that are there the longest have the most opportunity to buy Jello shots, and also the teams that are winning are going to be the happiest and want to celebrate with Jello shots. So if your team wins the World Series, you're going to be going crazy with Jello shots.
Yeah.
That's what I think it is.
So basically time is the reason why you win the Jello
Yes.
shot competition.
LSU did have
But to be fair, there's something to be said about, like, it was, Florida versus LSU last year?
yeah.
So, I mean, like, LSU and Florida were there for the same amount of time, same amount of games.
Yeah, but LSU won more games.
Right, because they won it all.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at is, like, Florida and LSU realistically were there for the same amount of time.
Yeah, but it's not just the time variable; it's the happiness variable.
Oh, it was the happiness variable I'm forgetting there.
Do you think they bought like 60,000 Jello shots?
I'm aware of how many.
That's an absurd amount of Jello shots. That's so many.
Hey,
But
shout out to the bar. That's great marketing.
yeah, it is. It really is.
Imagine knowing that you're making 6 figures or maybe even 7 figures that week just over gelatin.
How much? Okay. This is gonna be the last thing I think, unless
Like, how
you
much-
have something else. But like, how much does a Jello shot cost to buy,
Pennies.
and how much does it cost to make?
Oh,
Like as a consumer and as a
I don't know. I would imagine Jello shots are probably like $2 a Jello shot.
like
maybe-
to buy as a
maybe
consumer?
$2 a Jello shot. I would say that's a reasonable amount.
$2 a Jello shot. That's still so many. How many LSU fans are just blowing all their cash on Jello shots? That's I just can't. I'm a little bit of a penny pincher. So I have a hard time.
Oh, never mind. I'm way too crazy.
Okay,
65 cents, 70 cents.
roughly. Yeah, I mean, but that
Right.
it depends on how much they cost at Omaha. Like that,
I
could
mean-
be upcharged just because it's Omaha.
I mean, like it maybe costs 50 cents to make, and then like maybe. I mean, like
I don't even think it costs 50 cents to make. I doubt that.
I mean, you can, like,
You could probably make the biggest thing of like gelatin mix and like mix in alcohol, and it probably costs like a couple cents a pop.
I mean, like, the cheapest bottle of vodka or whatever spirit you would like to use.
And that's what they're using, the cheapest.
Well, duh. I mean, like you can get tequila for
like a bottle, a 750 milliliter bottle for like $4.
Yeah.
And it is.
And if you're buying in bulk, if you're this bar, it's probably, oh my God, they're
Oh,
probably
no,
making
no.
so much money.
That is in bulk. That's like.
That is in bulk? Okay.
Yeah, like you can buy like 12. You can buy like a box of tequila, like a box, like 12 bottles. And it's like $48.
Yeah. But that's, I mean, God, the money that they made
Oh,
at that
yeah.
stadium
Absolutely.
for Omaha, that's
Welcome
crazy.
welcome to the economic side of the college World Series.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Yeah.
that's all I got. You got anything else?
No, not really. No.
All right. Well, hope you enjoyed. Go out there, buy a Jello shot, and then do that Jello shot. Why not?
Do it.
Baseball season is upon us.
Sorry to hear.